Joe Adams of Houston, formerly of Muleshoe, and the son of Margaret Adams of Muleshoe and the late J.K. Adams. And there is an article that has just been run in what magazine, Joe?
In the Fredericksburg Times and the Kerrville Junction Times. It's specifically about the hill country where these works have been done.
And he is the architect, along with his wife, Gail.
Yes.
Is that right? Of a house built halfway between Fredericksburg and Kerrville. And it's out in the country on the Pedernales River that, of course, curves on around in front of the Texas White House, the LBJ Ranch. And what about the flooding in the Pedernales and where you were the architect of this particular home, Joe?
Well, these are on bluff tops that overlook the Pedernales River. The Pedernales sometimes gets over its banks, for sure, as it was here a few days ago. But the sites that we selected for these clients, the clients come to us and ask us where we think is a good idea to build. And these bluff tops, of course, have incredible views in the hill country. But, of course, they're also free of this flash flooding that happens periodically.
Well, that's good. And so the name of this particular article is The Power of Place. Now, what does that have to mean in this particular article and with this particular home?
We are given oftentimes a piece of property that's literally acreage. And the client asks, where should I build on this acreage? And my wife and I, believe that there are no two places under the sun on the whole face of the earth that are the same. And particularly when we go to a piece of property, we spend time there. We camp on the grounds, we walk, we spend a night and a day and another night to see where the sun rises and falls and where the prevailing winds come from. Oftentimes we've been on a site and it's been a storm come up in the middle of the night, and we learn something new about the site. So we believe that each site has kind of a beating heart and a spirit to it. And if we can kind of plumb the spirit of that place and give that to the client in the form of the architecture, that we've given them something beyond 3 bedrooms and 2 baths and a kitchen. So we are going for the gold, so to speak, in where the essence of the site is. And that's what we've done in these 2 projects.
And now, this particular house is a family living there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week?
It started out as a retirement, as a weekend house, to become a retirement house for residents of the Dallas area, Dallas-Fort Worth area. So to move to the country from the city requires a certain change in mind and change in heart, and they gave us the latitude to find that special place in this new land that they're moving to. So it becomes now a full-time retirement house.
Okay, and so they're living there now. Now let's go to the next pictures. This is from the air, and I believe a drone made this particular picture.
We have a photographer friend who has this new technology, the drone, where you can actually hover over the site and then on the ground see a video screen, and we can instruct the photographer, no, move a little bit to the left, move a little bit to the right. So it gives you the vantage point, as we as architects see in models, but only God sees, and the birds see in reality.
And so this is almost a circular house, and it looks very interesting. Let's go on to the next. Oh my, it has another vantage point from the drone.
Yes, also from the drone, about 50 feet above the ground. But there, in this photo, you can see the horizon in the distance. Yes. And that is what is really driving this whole design, not only the conical shape, the cone-shaped bluff that it sits on top of, round, circular, but this view that's almost 360 degrees from this house.
And how many bedrooms, how many baths, and what else does the home include?
Well, it has all of the regular stuff, the 3 bedrooms, 4 baths. It's not a very large house. It's about a 2,800 square foot house. But we think that it absolutely resonates with its site.
Now, is it 2-story?
It is 2-story, and at one point it has been a 3-generation house. So the retiring doctor and his wife lived here, plus their son and their new child. So it has been a home for this extended family because it is such a dramatic and engaging site. People love to come to this place and live here.
And so now let's look at another vantage point of this. This is from the ground.
This is from the ground, as you would see walking up to this place. And as you recognized, it is a geometric figure. It's a 10-sided figure with 3 of the sides left out. So the open face, so to speak, looks to the southwest. That's where the prevailing winds come. So the prevailing winds are naturally ventilating this house on top of the bluff through the courtyard that we've built there. But as you walk up to this site, you begin to see, again, over the shoulders of this site, this incredible view. 10 miles off in the distance is Kerrville in this direction. 10 miles off to the east is Fredericksburg. At night, you can see these towns glowing on the horizon in the distance. And you know you're kind of connected to civilization, but you're out here where maybe Quanah Parker and his brave Indians, Comanche braves, camped once upon a time. You have that feeling about this site that it's...
Now, what year did you and your wife, Gail Adams, work on the architecture of this particular home?
This was about 5 years ago, but we've just now gotten these photographs to in the mature growth of the trees and the gardens. So we have now really just for the first time seen.
And this is a night scene.
Here is a night scene where you can see that garden that you walk into as kind of the vestibule of the house. But the ceiling of this room is the stars at night, are big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas. And that is a wonderful outdoor room that you walk into in the evening, and you see the 2 open faces of the native limestone asking you to come in. We have a sunset deck, a specific request of this client. I want a place where in my retirement I can go up and enjoy the sunset. A specific place that is facing the southwest, where I take a glass of wine and say, this is what I worked all these years for to enjoy my retirement and enjoy this place. And this is a solarium, a tall glass room that looks out into this garden, but it's facing in the right direction where it takes in the winter sun in the mornings, and they spend a lot of time early in the mornings in the winter in that solarium. And this is the courtyard that you enter into.
As an architect, do you do any of the suggestion of the landscaping or not?
The whole design suggests the landscaping. They found these trees, which are wonderful arid climate resistant trees, but the groundscape is lush for this part of the world. This is formerly, before last week, this was an arid part of the world. It was in a 3-year drought. But this is
it's not anymore.
Not anymore. But this is the lush garden that you feel that you've come out of that arid climate into this garden before you enter the house.
And, speaking of the drought being broken, well, I wonder, you live in Houston. Did you get any of the flooding in your home?
Well, the photos that were seen on national television, the photos that you saw, a lot of them were taken about a block from my house. And
But did you get flooded?
We didn't get flooded ourselves because we had a good architect. Suggested we build 3 feet above the surrounding grade with a pier and beam type of construction. So we were
wonderful.
Well above the flood. But we saw a lot of, in Houston, it's not uncommon to see a big 18-wheeler bobbing down the freeway.
Floating. That was a few days ago.
Yeah, a few days ago.
Right, okay. Now, is this the solarium?
The solarium where, a husband and wife in retirement enjoy this wonderful morning sun as it comes flooding into the house. Texas has wonderful sun, but you have to be very careful, as we've talked with you before, about how you use the Texas sun.
And what about the glass that's in the solarium? Is it a different type of glass? Because
it has some resistant qualities, but the primary thing is the orientation, which direction you look. You don't look in Texas in the southwest, orientation of the sky with bringing in a lot of sun. It's just a killer sun. So this house knows, again, like the other work we've done, knows where it is under the sun. It clicks around the points of the compass and gets the right orientation, gets the right breeze. So we believe that that's what distinguishes our architecture, that we're so concerned about the reality of the place. And the reality is the sun comes up in the east and goes down in the west and is hot and damaging in the late afternoon, but you want to bring in that northern light. So this is moving into the interior. You can see that it's one large room, the living, the kitchen, and the dining. Behind this, central massive limestone fireplace.
And now, is there a fireplace on the other side?
Yes, you
okay,
can see it on
both
the other
sides.
side, both sides of this fireplace, and then the dining is on the other side,
Okay.
and the solarium behind that. So it's this large vaulted space, not a large space, but because of the third dimension, it feels much more generous than the two-dimensional size would imply. So
And now, is this the master bedroom?
This is the master bedroom, so that as you raise your head from the pillow, you look out this window and this horizon, which is off there 20 miles in the distance, 15 miles in the distance. You have the command of that as well. So that you are
Very serene.
every place in the house lets you know where you are in this incredible landscape. And these clients have the wherewithal to travel, and they, in their retirement, they take a cruise to the Bahamas or something, but they always tell us the best thing about going away is coming home
Sure.
to this place.
And over here now, is this a balcony or is this
This is a little garden. Every part of the house has, as we click around the compass, there's a room and a porch, and a room and a porch, and a room and a porch.
Now, this is the first floor then?
Yes.
It's not on the second floor.
I'll show you, there's a photograph of this porch later on. But this is from the main room that you can see that horizon tracing through all of the windows on the outside. So at every point on the compass, in every room in the house, you know where you are relative to the horizon. I mean, that's something that the Panhandle obviously has a lot of, is a horizon.
Now, what would you call this particular room where the fireplace is into the what?
It's the living room, but then there's the study in the back, and here's the dining room.
This is a study.
Yes.
Okay.
Study there, and then up to this little loft room. So
Now, is the loft not a bedroom?
it can be a bedroom. They have grandkids, like a lot of people, and sometimes this house is absolutely full of people, and they have grandkids sleeping in the loft, and it's kind of fun to come to Grandpa's house and sleep up in this space. But here is that porch outside of the master bedroom.
Oh my, it's a large porch. I believe this would be my favorite place.
Well,
Except I don't like the humidity, so I wouldn't sit there in the summer.
Well, this has a breezeway coming right through it, inducing the breeze from the south. So it's open to that courtyard behind this. So we've situated this where, in old-fashioned terms, this is a dog run. This is the dog trot, where the dogs felt that constant breeze coming through from the southwest to the northeast.
Of course, a dog run, you can walk from one side to the other side of a home. And this is just beautiful looking out on that horizon.
So
now,
this is the second house.
Oh, there's two houses?
Two houses designed within a sight of each other on this same river, but this house has a very different site. You can see that it has a tabletop bluff, a long rectangular field leading up to it.
And you were the architect on this?
Yes. Two doctors bought this property, 500 acres, and they sort of flipped for, you take the west 200 and I'll take the east 200. So this is a very different site, but within a site of the other house.
This looks like more of a ranch style.
Well, it is long and thin, whereas the other house was circular. This house is stretching out horizontally to the west and to the east and to the west, on this tabletop bluff that drops off steeply down to the Pedernales River. So you can see that it is stretched. This house is stretched out. And it has a smaller part of the house, which is the retirement house. Both of these clients said, we want to compress our lifestyle into a small house. But then they started thinking about what happens when the grandkids come. So this arm stretches out as a dormitory. We call this a dormitory for the overflow of the children at Christmas time, at Thanksgiving. So this house has, I like to say it has an elastic quality to it. So it can swell and absorb big families. But when it's just the two of them in retirement, it doesn't feel overwhelming. And this house has this arm that reaches out, cradling this garden.
So total, how many bedrooms does this have?
Well, this house, the main part of the house here has one formal bedroom, one informal bedroom, and lots of these loft places where you can put a bed. And then this dormitory has a huge capability of having 5 beds up there. But these are all rollaway beds. And
it looks like the garden is right here.
Yes. The owner's wife here said, I'm not moving from Dallas without I have a place to garden. So the arm of this house reaches out and kind of cradles this outdoor garden, which is a vegetable garden and the flower garden. So the wife's green thumb has a chance to be exercised in retirement in the country.
And now we have the nighttime view of that home.
You can see this house from the Pedernales River Bridge and from Route 16 between Kerrville and Fredericksburg at night and the daytime. And at night it glows absolutely like a lantern.
But you can't see the other one?
Yes, both can be seen from the highway. They are far enough away so you're not disturbed by the highway sounds. But you just see that connection, a little ribbon going through the landscape that connects you back to civilization. So you're not too far from civilization, even though you've come from Dallas to retire here. Right. We like to think that this house is like a ship. It almost feels like being on shipboard across this landscape, which is like the ocean. So here's a deck on top of the second floor of this, that you can get up on top of this deck with furniture and then command that long view. And here is what that looks like. And you can see just this ribbon in the distance. That's the highway bridge that connects Fredericksburg.
Very hard to see, but if you look closely, you can see.
So the river goes underneath there, and the river in flood comes up to the underside of that bridge. So it's very volatile. You know, Texas has these flash floods. And we've seen boats up in the trees out there. This is the southern side of the house. Again, we're very sensitive to the north and the south and the east and the west. And you can see that we've knitted into the form a true greenhouse. This is the house where the wife has the green thumb. So she has the capability of growing her orchids, her African violets, in a very controlled environment. It's shaded during the summertime so that it doesn't overheat, but these blinds come up in the wintertime, and this becomes what is called a passive heating device. So the greenhouse helps heat the house behind it. It's not only growing plants.
And you can see the shades there. It looks like there's 2 enormous shades that are down a little ways on the top and down into the side of the greenhouse. She does have a green thumb.
She really does. She makes this bloom. And then this is the interior of the house, and you can see that dominant horizon off in the distance. That's kind of what anchors you to your site, is the command of that horizon. And
well, they're pretty close to the Pedernales, it looks from there.
This is the top of that tabletop bluff. Then there's the steep escarpment that comes down. And the water, I believe, was, of course, this photograph was taken in calm times, but the water was all the way up to here, right at the base of this bluff in the last flood.
The base of that bluff,
So that is these two houses side by side on adjoining bluffs. One would think if one built houses out of catalogs that you'd put a couple of houses that are the same. But we feel that the characteristics of each of these different sites commanded us to do what the site wanted to be, which is an expression that we use. We go out and put our ear to the ground and try to listen to what this site is crying to be. And we think that it's not unlike what the Indians did, being sensitive to the rising of the sun and the prevailing winds. And in fact, when we camped on this site, try to picture this site, just a raw limestone bluff. This is right in the heart of it. It's where we pitched our camp, put our ring of stones, made our fire right there. And as we clambered over the site in the next 2 days, we kept coming back to this place right here. And that's where the idea originated of this circular house, exploiting this incredible site, this opportunity.
So much, Joe Adams, the son of Margaret Adams of Muleshoe. He's an architect out of Houston, and he has been telling us about the two magnificent homes that he and his wife, Gail Adams, have been the architects on in the Fredericksburg and Kerrville area, halfway between each of those hill country of Texas towns.